8 years ago, I danced with my father at my wedding. This was a miracle for me, and it only happened because I set out on a journey to find and master forgiveness. We all experience trauma when people hurt us or do us wrong, and this can make it hard and sometimes impossible to forgive and let go. Yet, without forgiveness, life is governed by the past, the emotional ties to the offender, the inner conflicts caused by resentment, bitterness, and hate. Without forgiveness, we cannot become whole and enjoy the fullness of life. I can attest to that. My father abandoned my mother, sister, and I when I was not even a year old. Growing up without a father was a big challenge, coupled with living in Russian-occupied East Germany, where we could not say or do anything that wasn't approved by the government, and life was marked by scarcity of even the simplest things. Being a Christian in a country that frowned on religion added to our daily struggle, making life all the more difficult. The absence of a father figure affects a lot of decisions you make. I made a lot of bad decisions and essentially paid the price for it. But I managed better than my sister. She was 3 when our father left us, and it crushed her emotionally, which sadly had a trickle-down effect onto her children. Mother and I tried to mitigate, but there's only so much we could do. Auntie, who broke up all contact with her brother, helped as well, so did Grandma and Grandpa. They actually took their grief about their son abandoning us into their grave. I hated my father for all the pain and suffering he inflicted on 4 generations. I hated him with a passion. Hate is a strong word, and I do not take it lightly, but I couldn't help but feel that way. When he had the guts to show up 45 years later, wanting to be part of my life, I was not only dumbfounded, I was pissed. All of a sudden, he recognized I exist, and I was supposed to do what? Forgive him? Life is a precious gift. We only get to live once. I want to live an amazing life, achieve my goals, thrive, and be happy. And it is my passion and purpose to empower others to do the same. To empower and inspire others, you have to live by example. My father showing up hit me over the head with a baseball bat. I had to find a way to forgive him based on my values and what's important to me now, not the past that made me so resentful towards him. And that is why I went on a pilgrimage to find and master forgiveness. When faced with a challenge, I always start with why, as your why is the reason for which you do it. Your why is what moves, drives, and energizes you. It brings meaning to what you do. What does it mean to forgive my father? Why would or should I do it? I had to take a deep dive into my psyche, soul, mind, and spirit. I was shocked to discover that carrying hate with me all these years was the root for me being easily irritated, holding grudges for way too long, and my occasional harsh tone of voice. Those toxic thoughts and emotions towards my father affected my whole being negatively and ultimately prevented me from becoming more of the person I want to be. Kind, loving, compassionate, understanding, open-minded, the list goes on. What a discovery. I had to forgive and let go for my own sake to find inner peace and become the person I want to be. I came to realize that while forgiveness is an act we perform towards others, it is also an act of kindness to ourselves, as we lighten our emotional load and get rid of the baggage that is holding us hostage and is eating away at our chance for emotional freedom, happiness, and success. We can't change what happened, nor do we have to condone it. But we can choose to cleanse our heart and make peace with the past, instead of being enslaved and burdened by it for the rest of our lives. I was ready to make peace, but how? How would I forgive and let go? A very challenging question for someone who is a champion of holding grudges. In my search for an answer, I discovered that forgiveness is not a light switch. You don't just forgive and move on. Forgiveness is a dance that you learn and practice daily, a dance that combines a deep understanding of yourself with courage, perseverance, and a willingness to grow and change. A dance that leads to inner freedom and peace, which alters who you are and how you interact with the world. And it enables you to craft a life that you will love. The dance of forgiveness will look different for each of us. Your dance steps will depend on what it is that you need to forgive and let go, and what it is that you want to be, become, have, overcome, or achieve. What would that be? It took me some time to come up with my own answer. To be more at peace with myself and the world, and to become the person I want to be, I needed to get rid of my negative tendencies that subconsciously fire every time something doesn't go my way. What if I were to pay more attention to those situations? What if I were to be more at choice with my thoughts and actions, live more intentionally, instead of letting my negative tendencies fire whenever they want to? It was worth exploring. I started to think of the necessary dance steps that would help me get there. One of them was to agree to meeting my father next time I would visit Germany. My loving, faithful, and forgiving mother arranged a meeting at her house. Just imagine. As expected, it was weird and awkward for a while. At that meeting, my father learned that I was getting married the following year and said it would mean everything to him if he could come. I said, sure, thinking it was part of the forgiveness process. He came and worked his ass off, helping with preparations and cleanup, and he baked us the most amazing wedding cake. It took him 5 days. He used to be a master baker, and we actually had to buy a second fridge to put all the pieces in there. He wanted to show that even though he wasn't there all my life, he now cared to be present, and he treasured the fact that I let him. It gave us a chance to get to know one another and build a relationship we never had. What he did not like was the fact I called him Fredo, as it's not his real name. I made it up. It worked for me. His real name just made me grimace and left a bad taste in my mouth because it reminded me of the past. Calling him Dad wasn't an option either. He would have loved it, but I simply could not bring those words over my lips. Before he flew back to Germany, he invited me and my husband to his 70th birthday party the following year. I said, I think about it. Having him here at our wedding was one thing. My world, my rules. Going over into his world where I would meet all his friends and my stepsisters was something else. I wasn't interested in any of it. Yet, I intentionally put the birthday party on my calendar and eventually bought myself a ticket. And then, there it was, that voice. That voice from above telling me that going to the party wasn't good enough. I had to go further and deeper to truly forgive and have an honest relationship with my father. Further and deeper, what? I decided to stumble along and deal with the further and deeper whatever it meant. It came to mind that, yes, I had let my father into my life, but no, I never told him how I felt. I just told him to be Fredo, and that was it. He was a new acquaintance. All my decisions so far were made from the head, not from the heart. In order to have an honest relationship with him, I had to accept him as my father and ultimately truly forgive him. I decided to write down all the thoughts and feelings that I carried around with me for all these years prior to meeting him, and I decided there was no better place and time than his birthday party to speak it out loud and let it go. It took me several months to put it in writing, months of self-discovery and months of letting my ego subside. I read out loud in front of all the guests what I had thoughtfully put on paper. It was the only way that I could tell him and the world truly and wholeheartedly that I was ready to move on and let the past be. And at the end of the speech, I gave him my gift, a gift that he could not touch but feel. I called him Dad. At the end of the speech, I looked up and I saw tears, a lot of tears on people's faces, including that of my dad's. He said that was by far the best birthday present he ever gotten in his life. I had built a wall. That wall is down now, just like the Berlin Wall I grew up behind. Both fallen walls have changed my life for the better. Don't let the sun go down under your anger. That's what my grandfather often said. Well, for many years I wasn't able to do this, as holding grudges was one of my specialties. That was then. Today is now, and it looks different. It is amazing. When we choose to act with intention, instead of simply reacting out of habit, we gain control of our life and we're able to shape it the way we want it to be. While we can't always choose the music life plays for us, we can choose how we dance to it. Just imagine what the world would look like if we were all practicing the dance of forgiveness daily. How many more walls could be broken down? How many people could be brought together? How many bridges could be built? Imagine how much peace and freedom this would project into the world. You and I can contribute to the healing of the world by practicing the dance of forgiveness daily. Join me. Thank you.